I have no elephants. Fernando. Okay. Alex, yes, thank you. No. I didn't expect Fernando not to be here, so. Yeah, it's Cheryl Neely. Expectation is to get closer to a resolution. And let me take a moment. We have some people at the table who are new. First of all, Ron Iarusi is going to be, and is currently sort of in the interim, our new Director of Labor Relations. So welcome to him. And then Jared McKinney replaces Roger Lloyd. Jared is the new Executive Director of Transportation. So welcome. And you all know Kirsten, but.
Yes. Bill goes with a check-in.
I'm Kirsten Thompson, a guest here today. I am doing good, no time constraints. Missing as noted, no elephants in the room, and expectations. Hopefully we can help understand the data a little bit better.
Good afternoon, I'm Amy and I'm fine. No time constraints, no elephants, and I'd like to get closer to a resolution.
Hello everyone, I'm Kevin Kelfie, I'm doing well. No time constraints, missings noted, no elephants, and I like make progress.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Dodig said, I'm Ron Iarusi. I'm kind of an interim Director of Labor Relations right now, pending board approval on July 30th. I'm doing well, I have no time constraints. My expectation for today is just to learn more about the process of bargaining with these two groups today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jared McKinney. I am great. No time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants. Expectations is to understand the process and get closer to a resolution. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Candy Messenger, Director of Food and Nutrition Services. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants. And expectations is to get closer to a resolution.
Thank you. Lois.
Good afternoon, my name is Lois Jabay. I am fine, no time constraints. Missing is Patrice Coates. No elephants, and expectations is to make progress.
Good afternoon. I'm so used to 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. My name is Arlise Williams. I am well. No time constraint. Missing has been noted. No elephant. And I will go with Rob on expectations. And welcome, Jerry.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Cox. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing's been noted, and no elephants, and I'd like to make progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Deborah Evans. I'm well, no time restraint. Missing has been noted, no elephant. Expectation, make progress.
Hi, I'm Laura Rosen. I'm doing well. No time constraints today. Missing noted. Elephants none. Expectations, understand the data better.
Good afternoon. Oh my.
I'll talk to you, baby.
Which number? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Put up the finger stick.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1.
Okay.
And she's well.
Well, that's debatable.
That's probably from a football game.
My name is Amy Bunch. I'm doing well today. Do not having time constraints, and Don and I are both here. I do not have any elephants, and my expectation is to help you all reach your expectations.
And good afternoon, my name is Donna Matzenart, I'm doing well. I have no time constraints and no elements, and the expectation is what Amy just said. Hope you get through all those expectations. We have more than one today. We do. All right, I'm assuming we don't have minutes. All right. Okay. So, where are we headed today? I know that there was a data request yesterday, and Rob, we have.
Yeah, we do have that data. I was just wondering if SPALC had any other conversation outside of bargaining. I know you guys said you wanted to potentially look at things. It's a lot of information. I'm just wondering, and if that didn't take place, obviously we understand. Less than 24 hours.
I do have a question. So we were looking at the option 2, and I did bring up the example of the carpenter looking like they were still going to be kind of held back even at 22 years of experience. They were still closer to the minimum than they were to the midpoint. And I guess my question is, when you're using the formula for the longevity adjustments, or I think we changed it to compression adjustments, why were 16 to 25 and 26 plus still at the 4%? To me, that caused compression still, that caused an issue. Is there a reason?
16 through 24.
Right, why weren't they larger as seniority went on?
Amy?
So I want to make sure I heard the question right, that you were asking why in the option 2, where you're looking at when we have the different adjustments for the years of service, that 16 to 25 and 26 plus were the same. Well, I mean, that was just a function of our thoughts. That doesn't mean that can't change. It can change in a way that we would like it to change. It's just that, so that's a negotiable item. It would have, whatever we were changing would have to fit into the money scenario that we have. The way that it's laid out here uses our bargaining authority. So if we were gonna try to make some kind of adjustment between these two, we could make it all throughout the 4 or somehow tweak to a 3.5, 4. We could see what works. That is very much a negotiable item. This is just one option or one way to see it.
Okay, anything else? Did you get a chance to discuss and look at what you received yesterday, or I think that was Rob's question?
I think what they just presented us is what we needed to further have discussions.
Okay.
May I talk about it a little bit? So everyone we got one, right, Vicki? Okay. All right, so now this is in relation to option 2. So you had asked, well, all of these different, sorry. All of these different percentages, what are the positions and how many of them that are falling within each of these groups? So that's what you see here. So on that, the one pager that we had yesterday where it showed all the different numbers and everything, you'll see the numbers for option 2 match up to this. And I'm just pulling this out, it's this one right here. So for option 2, the people 0%, there were 4. And so you see the first page, there's 4, and you see the corresponding job titles of them. Then the next one was 2%, and that was at 620 individuals as it stands with this set of data that we were using. Remember, changes as people go in and out. But here's the 2%, 620, and you see the list of the job titles and how many correspond with that number. So, so basically you could go through page by page and see those particular job titles with each of the corresponding percentages. I will produce the same thing for option one. I just ran out of time between yesterday when we left here and today to be able to do both of them. So I'm happy to bring at that tomorrow, but today we just have the option two. Yes, I'm sorry.
Six, seven,
Y'all know what I'm talking about. Option two.
Yeah, I know. We know.
Yes, it's option five,
I
yes.
think we got it now.
And I do hope that I interpreted your request adequately, that this was what you were asking for. Mhm.
Any questions on this? No, you just got it, but.
So I'll just make it clear, just so we have for the record, that this is a snapshot in time, which is what, this week, Amy, or last week? Okay, so around December, January timeframe.
Any questions or clarifications needed on this particular handout? Marlies?
I have a question. So is it, or do you guys have a presentation or is just the handout? Just the handout? Okay, thank you.
No, just Amy's explanation of the handout.
Oh, your PowerPoint. Now I'm feeling adequate.
All right, anything else?
So I guess I can say that, we don't want people to think that we don't understand the information. We do. We understand all of the information that we have gotten so far, right? But what we're saying is, it is so much information. There's a lot of information. And like I said yesterday, we have, had joint meetings, for less than 4 hours, right? So we feel that we need to take more time and work together to come up with, and we understand that, right? All the numbers that you gave us is only a proposal. We can add, we can take away, or whatever we need to do. But what we're saying is we're not comfortable with making a decision on the Evergreen study. If you go back and even look at the, I know some of you guys was there, look at the board meeting from June 26th. Even the superintendent put emphasis on how difficult this information is and how much information it is. So, you know, with that, you know, we want to, just make the best decision, right, for the employees. And I don't feel that we can make the best decision unless we get together and work more on, this study. Couple of things are bothering, some employees of the district. And Rob brought it up yesterday. We've been getting phone calls and emails for the fact that, at least three of the board members said that when it came down to the attorney raises, that they were up under the impression nobody was gonna get raises or whatever until we got the Evergreen study. Ms. Jordan also said that the employees feel that they're not valued, right? So she's getting those calls. We're getting those calls too. That the employees are not feeling valued because it's a pattern, right? The district seems to give raises to who they want to give raises to at whatever point it is. So the thing of it is, we were supposed to be at the Evergreen study before anybody got a raise. The attorneys got raises anyway. Some of the board members don't even have this information. I heard Patricia say that she, out of all the board members, was the only one that had the information, because Ms. Jordan said, do we even know if we're giving the attorneys the right raise? Out of all of the board members, Patricia was the only one that actually received the information on the attorneys. They never said whether they was given the right raise or not. And it's a lot of information. So, we gave our proposal yesterday. I don't know where we go from here, Ms. Donna. We're willing to work, right?
Yeah.
But the thing of it is not that we don't understand. We understand this information. So for us, a kindergartner should be able to pick up this information and know what their rate's gonna be next year. That's how simple we need it to be. Because everybody in the district is not on the same level. I mean, people comprehend stuff better. I'm not trying to take anything from anyone. I respect everybody for where they are, but it should be so clear that any of our employees should be able to pick up this and understand what it is. And I can tell you now, they do not. Even information that we are being given, right? We have to ask multiple questions about it. So they should not have to call us or you guys and say, hey, how much my raise is gonna be this year. They should be able to pick up a document and know that. And from everything that you guys have given us so far, I can honestly say that they will not be able to do it. I'm gonna use myself as an example. If I was not on this team and I was simply still just a bus driver for Lee County School District, and if this came across to me in an email, I probably would not understand it. I would be totally confused. It's not your turn, Amy.
It will be soon, Amy.
It is not your turn, Amy. So the thing is, go ahead, Amy. I'm just picking up.
And just to add that, this is just information for you. When you do your implementation plan, you're gonna put a plan together that will explain to everybody so they can understand it.
Yes,
Okay, and Amy,
yes.
one other thing, right? Because we've been getting multiple calls and emails. So the employees want to know, when is this wage study going to become available to them? So basically, the wage study that we received, and I actually shared it with the team, that wage study. So the employees want to know when they're going to be able to receive that wage study, or when it's going to become public record, where they can put in a request for it.
Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, so so nobody has to put in a public records request for it, because it's going to be, it's going to be publicly available. We were trying to make sure that we got far enough in our process. We've been sharing as much information as we can throughout our process, either here and in labor management. Any information you have, of course, you're welcome to share with anybody that you would like. All information has been shared with the board as well, written in board update, written, right, in their board update. But we also plan on doing a whole briefing in person at the board face-to-face where we bring everybody in, go through things step by step, and also trying to work with our compensation department here to determine how best to put all the information out for everybody to be able to see, access, and understand, such as on website and all that. And that's what compensation and all of us are working towards right now, to make sure, especially when everybody comes back, right, or sometime very soon after, we have all the information out there transparently. I can't tell you all the ways it's gonna happen because we're trying to figure out all the ways it should happen in such a way where people will see and understand what it is that they're looking at, right? And so in this process, hey, look, we're looking for a slow yes, but not a fast no in terms of how we work through it. Because when we go out, whatever it is that we agree on, when we go out to the people to try to explain what we got and what's happening so that everybody understands, this is not what they would receive. This is what we talked about because we're way in the weeds with it, right? But this is not what they would receive. We would have to work together to determine what is it that we can put out where people would be able to adequately figure out, understand what it is that they would be getting for, if they agreed or ratified such a contract, right? So we would have to work together to make that happen, because I know that not necessarily, everybody cares not about all these details that we've talked about. It's like, well, what does it mean for me? Period, right? So some people do care about the details, and when they do, of course, they're free to, they look at these meetings, they tap in. You know those people because those people are probably contacting you all the time for questions and things like that. But other people just want to know, what does this mean for me? And we have to have a good balance of all information for both types of people to be able to know easily what that is. So this is not what they would receive. And I would just kind of maybe encourage us. I know that this is a lot of information that we've all been working with, but really some of what we talked about yesterday and the option that you all posed yesterday, it takes us off the step schedule anyway. So because if it's like, these certain percentages, and I forget what they were, I have them written down, but all of these percentages, if they don't correspond to a step increase, which they don't, we're coming off the step schedule. So if we're coming off the step schedule, why is it that we would not take into account, or really in effect for this year, ignore what it is that the study, which employees have been waiting on to see what are the results of that, what's gonna happen from that, what is the impact gonna be on me? Why would we ignore it this time? With, arguably, I know everybody wouldn't agree to it, but a substantial amount of funding to put towards trying to implement the first part of whatever is in the findings, because 5% is a considerable amount, and it's more than many of our comrades and peers across the state are seeming to find this year. Why wouldn't we take that considerable amount and start to implement what we know that we have, instead of deviating, coming off of the step schedule anyway, deviating from what's there, but not utilizing what we have here that we know people have been waiting for. Knowing that it's a multiple step process. We haven't finished what we would like to accomplish, but we started because we would have, right, under one of the options, a couple of the options that we have, a new formulated salary schedule that would be more reflective and competitive in the market, that would result in almost every employee getting increases. And I say almost every because we know that we have the 4, but again, that's negotiable as well. So it's all on the table. So every employee getting an increase, and with the percentages that we talked about, the range of percentages, we have everyone that would be receiving some minimum amount, and then some amounts that are more than that because they're reflective of what the study is showing us, what the market is showing us, will help us with the recruitment and retention efforts that we know that we have, especially in given positions. Like, why wouldn't we, as a group, kind of make that bold step?
Okay. Anything else to add?
Thank you, Amy.
Chris needs the mic.
Yes, I'd like to, again, go back to this 40-50 percentile, the wage study that you got. In fact, Kevin made a comment yesterday, not everybody belongs in the middle, okay? It comes back to that midpoint. That seems to be where you've set everything at. It's the midpoint, if I'm not mistaken, based on these, on this that we're seeing. I think the overall concern of people we represent here is that the people that have been here for any length of time are not going to be recognized. In fact, they're going to be going backwards at this point in terms of where they should be within that range. Now you did tell me that the range could be anywhere from 1 to 30 years. I find that hard to believe because I don't know anybody that maxes out at 30 years in any district or municipality. So I guess another document I'd like to see is what are the ranges of these like schools and stuff that how long did it take them to get to, from the minimum to the maximum? And can we be put into that range? Because this is not a one size fits all, in my opinion. I think this is something that's no, and again, unless I'm misinterpreting, the other thing I'd like to comment on is the fact that at 50%, that tells me that there's a lot of people making less than the minimum. There's a lot of people making more than the maximum. You're in the middle of this. Am I correct to say that? So, and I guess the other thing I would say is, when this all comes around, are you guys gauging yourselves at the 50 percentile of your peers? That. Again, we're only looking for fairness and equity at this point.
Any answers
Yeah, well,
or questions?
yeah, questions. I had a clarifying question on that because I'm not sure that I understood everything in there. So you were saying you wanted to, so the peers, how long is it taking someone to move from the minimum to the maximum? Did I misunderstand what you were saying?
Sure, let me give you a more specific.
Okay.
We could take anybody. Let's take a custodian, for example.
Okay.
Again, without seeing the numbers all together, but you're saying a custodian at the 50 percentile within the comparisons you made starts off. They typically start off somewhere in the middle at about $15.47. Okay. But when they hit the midpoint of whatever their pay range is, whether it's a 15-step, if it's a 20-step, or it's a 3-step block system, they got a midpoint, okay, and then you come up to a maximum. But again, you guys told us that this is a 15-year step that this was based on. That's 15 grades. Pay grades.
Not steps.
Not steps? Okay. Well then.
Steps are gone with
Okay,
this
all right, well
proposal.
then what would
And
the-
your proposal as well, steps
Well,
would be gone.
regardless, what would the range be for these comparisons that you made? That would be the information I'd like to see, and that way we can make a better comparison to see that those employees that have been here for quite some time, are they being compensated closer to what this study had shown? And to further elaborate, as you said, Kevin, not everybody belongs at the midpoint. I understand your rationale for trying to bring up the bottom, for employment and whatnot, get more people in the door. But the the people at the top, or I say the top, the people that have been here for quite some time feel very slighted by this. This is, you're basically, sounds to me like you're bringing them back to a midpoint, which is the range of these different salaries. They're the same as what you just said, that a lot of people don't belong at the, from the bottom don't belong at the midpoint, but a lot of people at the top don't belong at the midpoint either. So they need to be brought up, in my opinion. So that's,
Yeah, so.
there's
yeah.
nothing reflecting that at this point that I can see, or maybe you can tell me how you get there.
Yeah, I think what's reflecting that in the option is, so I think in theory, I think we're all in agreement with that, because there were two things basically two major interests on the table in terms of increasing salary overall, and then fixing or trying to address compression. Well, compression means these people who have been here a long time and the people who have been here a short time, they're too close. Right now, custodians are a market rate, if I remember correctly. So theoretically, everybody's making the same thing, whether you got here yesterday or you've been here 20 years, 16, 20. What in the option, and I'm specifically talking about option 2, I'm honing in on that one, is trying to address that is by saying, okay, not only is everybody at least moving to the minimum, what the new minimum of the pay grade would be, or the minimum of the range. In addition, based on the number of years that you have, you're getting an additional percentage, just like you were talking about in your option yesterday. So if you're here a longer time, you're getting additional percentage than somebody who just got here, which is also evidenced in the information that we gave yesterday, where as a custodian, with your example, a first-year employee would be receiving a 2% increase, and a 25-year employee would be receiving, in this example that we gave, a 6.1% increase. So how's that not addressing that?
Because we don't have you're not relating this to the jobs themselves. We don't know the range in which the jobs themselves. You're saying there's a minimum and there's a maximum, but how long was that range? So was it, did these people achieve this in 10 years? Again, I find it hard to believe it took them 30 years to get there, but in some cases, looking at this information, it would take you 30 years to get to these numbers based on what we've seen thus far.
Okay, if I understood what you were saying, we did equate it to a range, because the range in this particular job that we're talking about in custodian, which I think was a pay grade 2, if I remember correctly, right? The range is 1643 to 2465 on the new pay grade proposed structure in the option. So there is a range associated with that particular job. In any other job that would be on that particular pay grade, same range. So am I missing what you're saying?
Possibly, but needless to say, so for that custodial worker to get to the looks like $21.67 an hour. I don't, again, I have to look at it. Is it 24? Oh, okay. But what are you proposing starting in that at this point? What is the?
Well, the minimum would be 1643, but depending on somebody's, how long they've been here. Yeah, so this was in the presentation we gave you yesterday for custodian.
Here's,
the range.
You want to hold for a second? I think Kevin's trying to explain something to him, because I don't think he can hear what you're saying as well.
We got too many papers here.
Is there another handout that Kevin's sharing with Chris that everybody should get? It's from the past. Okay.
I do have another one to share.
Okay,
Yeah, this is the one he's sharing, I think it's from, he shared this one.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right. Chris?
I do understand what Kevin is saying, but again, you know, you guys are going to this midpoint, which is a representation, I guess, of a range. That you're taking the midpoint of the range from the study, I take it, correct? Is that, or more or less?
Okay, each of the 15 grades were built out. And then from the Evergreen market data that said this job, custodian, sites worker, bookkeeper, the average or midpoint data of all of the peers for a custodian is $19.52 an hour. Where that midpoint comes into play is where we place that job into the new pay structure. We match the midpoint of the job based on market data to the midpoint of the new salary structure grade, so that any job placed into that grade at the midpoint, there's plenty of years before that and years after that for the employee to enter in as a new employee and advance throughout the pay grade until they max out at the maximum.
Okay, and I do understand that, but you understand the stickler point with everybody here in the sense that, you know, they did this with market rate 8 years ago. Well,
That is
I understand.
market rate.
I understand this, you're not market rate, but there are no steps, there are no blocks. So what, you know, other than you telling us, yeah, you'll get there someday, we don't have any, there's no guarantee of that. And when you've heard that over and over again, in many cases, when you say you're gonna get there someday, and you should be there now, this doesn't sit well. And that's, I don't know how else to.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying, it's about it's not really about the structure of the salary schedule itself as we're talking about now, but it's about how people progress through the range in the future, right? Am I hearing you?
We would need to see a range. So even from the study that was done, we would like to see the range in which it took. So how long did it take an employee to get from directly in front of me, but let's say it was $16 to $24. How long did it take that employee as a custodian to get from there? Did it take him overall? Did it take most of them 15 years? Did it take them 10 years? What would the average of years have been?
Yeah.
But in this case, you you're making the argument, it could take as much as 30 years. Most of us will be retired by then.
Well, how are we making the argument that it could take 30 years? How are we making that argument? Okay, so I don't think I don't think the argument is to be made of how long it would take, and nobody can say how long it's gonna take, because no salary schedule, I don't care how it's structured, it doesn't give you a guarantee of anything. You can have a step in pay grade, there is no guarantee that anybody is going to get a step any year given a salary schedule. There's no guarantee that anybody's gonna get X amount in any year for anything, because everything is bargainable and negotiable. So impossible to say, at this place, it takes X amount of time to move from here to here, because it is very much dependent on what the economics of a circumstance is in any place, anytime, ever. We're not strange in that, we're not independent in that. Nothing is a guarantee. A step isn't a guarantee, any particular percentage isn't a guarantee, but we can say what the intent is, right? And the intent is to do all we can do any given year based on the economics and everything that we have. So I'm not exactly sure how to better answer that question than that.
No, and I completely understand that. And but again, let me give you a quick story. During Hurricane Ian, we had electricians and HVAC people, as well as come over and help us out during the hurricane. And of course, people talk, and they were all shocked to see the kind of money we were making. They couldn't believe that we were paid that low at that point. And all these people were at the top, even within our own ranks, if you will. We had people that were at their level, but a lot of us, we've never gotten there. We can't. And again, it looks to my peers and stuff. You can say you're going to get us there, but I mean, we've got a lot of track record to show that we haven't been able to get there. So this is a tough sell. I mean.
Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Understood. Understood. But why is it, or how is it that? And I'm sorry. I'm probably a little evaluative at this point. I'm in the mode of evaluating some options right now. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and go there. So why is it, or how is it that one option mitigates that any more than the other? Right, because any structure that we put in place, it's going to be the question. I know you were referred to market rate earlier. Oh well, we were had the understanding or believe something in market rate that maybe didn't come to fruition the way that people thought that it should, or even in the step schedule that we had, some things didn't come to fruition the way that people should because we didn't necessarily get a step every year, that type of thing. So how is it that when I'm evaluating two things, option 5/2, as we talked about it yesterday, versus option 6, 7, I don't know, the one that you all have brought to the table and talked about, how does that option make the argument that you just made any different? It doesn't, it still doesn't guarantee anything. It still doesn't necessarily talk about how people will progress through. And in option 2, you have more people based on how the option is structured getting more than 5% or more increase than you do under the option that you all talked about is how it was structured. We have more people in the unit getting a higher percentage increase under the option 2 or 5, as we discussed, versus the option that you're talking about right now. So the difficulties are going to be the same underneath any scenario, right? People want to know, how do we progress through? How do we make gains in the in the range, in the pay structure, all of that? And I get that. So that would be kind of the things that we have to talk about, the things that we have to continue to work on at this table, because that's our job, and we all have the interest in making sure that we try to compensate our employees as best as we can, because it helps all of us. But why not? Why wouldn't we put forward the option that gives people the ability for more earning potential? Because the pay grade structure that I'm trying to advocate for right now in the option 2 that we're talking about, it gives individuals more earning potential than what we got right now on our current pay grade structure. So I understand and I hear you saying that, well, yeah, you have this, but how am I gonna get there? Maybe I'll never get there. Well, but we have the opportunity to get to a higher spot than what we do now with our current structure as it's outlined, or even inside of the option that we're talking about. Because if we're gonna break steps, if we're gonna come off the structure that we have now, I'm saying let's go for it. We got this information here. We're ready to try to integrate it into what we have. We're giving people more earning potential. We're trying to spread out the increases we have it to address recruitment and retention issues. We're trying to put more percentages in different places, which we can negotiate to help compression that we're talking about. I'm speaking to the interest here.
Is there any way I know what you're saying, but I mean, but there's no, how do you tell the person that, like I said, that says, you're gonna get there, but, and they're saying, well, I should be there now. I should be at the highest pay range. And so now you pushed it that much further ahead with no way to really, and I get that, I get that you can't guarantee it, but the step system would have, a block system would have, if you held to it, but apparently they don't want to do that, but again, I'm just going to reiterate, I mean, we do understand this is at 50% of the average here, the average of those schools that you.
Arlie?
I just want, Amy, can you go over, option 2 and go to the bus drivers?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I know I have a driver now, right, that has 11 years in, right, and she is making the same thing that a new driver is making. So all of those people are in a compression, and they're making the same amount of money, right?
1890.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know in these groups it wouldn't matter because they would actually get the 2% plus whatever percentage we negotiate, correct?
In option 2, that bus driver would be brought to the new minimum of 1957, which is actually a 3.6% increase. And
no.
then she would also be given the compression adjustment of 3%, for a total of 6.6.
So her new hourly wages is 2016.
Correct.
And how much money is that?
Per year, annualized?
Per hour, per difference from where she is currently now.
Which is where?
Which is 1890. No, she's actually, hold on a minute. No, they're at 1957. Kevin, isn't that correct for drivers over a year? I want to say they're at 1957 an hour. Because it's not, Jared, do you know that? It's 1890 for a new driver?
Yes.
Thank you. So, I'm sorry, so just, so I'm clear. So that 10-year driver would get a total of 6.6%.
Yes, that person
Yes.
is currently at 1890, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about, let's talk about custodial, right? So we have custodial that is making basically from 1 to 10 years, all of them are pretty much making the same thing, the 1620.
Correct.
So when you're talking about custodial, just from this information, custodial 10 years, now we'll move to 1702, which is a 49-cent difference. A custodial at 15 years more, right, would be, yeah, not that much more. Okay, I'm just doing the math and trying to figure out what it is, because we did have a real big concern for the custodial, because the custodial, you know, all of them are pretty much making the same thing, and then at 25 years, they're still pretty much making the same thing. So, okay, I got it.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. Any other clarification needed? Okay, all right.
Yeah, and so your example with the custodian, which I'm looking at our information from option 2, right? Yep, yesterday, is that trying to, look, that picture on the bottom, just kind of illustrate that, to say, yes, right now they're all bunched up, all the circles on the top of the line, they're all bunched up there at the same thing. I'm not saying that there could be some custodians out there that make more than 1620 because they have been here for a while. I don't know that, I have to look for sure. But if they're all on the market rate making 1620, they're all bunched up under the scenario that we're talking about, they would stretch out somewhat. So you see the one, our number 4 employee, or the 25-year person, is moving up above all of the other ones, 1 year, 4 year, 10 year. Are they moving up to such a place where we want them to move up? In the first year, no. But I'm saying that's why it's a multi-year process. That it's like we continue to work on it, we continue to chip at it, we continue to chip away at it, because we know that based on the circumstances we have right now, we're not shooting everybody up to beyond midpoint or topping them out on the schedule this time, this year. It's not happening that way, but we can set up the structure in order to be able to put ourselves in a better position to be able to do it in the future. But we are making headway on it because they've stretched out on the continuum.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? I know you'll be so excited, there's another handout that, do you want to do that now? The other handout you have?
We could.
Okay. You ask for data, you get data. Whoops. Amy's been working on it. They don't have one right now.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have enough? You guys have, do you have enough?
No,
Yeah, no, we're talking about yesterday's copy.
yesterday's information for Vicky.
Okay.
All right, what are we looking at, Amy?
Okay, so for anybody who needed copies from yesterday's presentation, we're going to copy them right now. So people can have those to refer to. Sorry that we didn't bring any extras today. Didn't want to confuse the issue, but just wanted to, I was trying to try to address what I thought were some of the questions and what I thought I was hearing as some of maybe the uncertainty, the concern inside of some of the data that was like, well, where are these ranges coming from? Why, you know, it's almost like you're pulling them out of the air or something. So we were just trying to draw the line here between the Evergreen study information and how that corresponded to the pay grades that each of the different jobs were placed in, if that makes any sense. So just coming down to, for example, in the middle of the page, the information specialist at the elementary level, right, which is showing across the page what the current midpoint is, our current midpoint on the salary schedule, right? Either it's a market rate. If it's a market rate, then the market rate is any and all things. The market rate is the minimum, it's the maximum, it's the midpoint. Or if it's on the actual salary schedule, then the midpoint is whatever the midpoint is in their range. And then you see what the proposed minimum and maximum of the new pay grade would be, and the new midpoint. And then you see what the study showed. So the study showed that our salary for that position at its midpoint was undervalued by almost 25% at the midpoint. And so now when we created the new range, in the new proposed range, the new proposed range increases the old proposed midpoint, or the old midpoint, the existing midpoint, by 31%. So that's how the new pay ranges react to the Evergreen study. It told us the midpoint of that particular position on our current market rate was not appropriately aligned. It was under by 25%. In the new pay range, that midpoint stands at increased from our current midpoint by 31%. So therefore, in the new pay range, we have adequately reflected what the market for that particular position on the range would be for that position. So that's how I was like, I thought I heard yesterday, it was like, draw the line for us between these Evergreen numbers and these ranges, because in some instances, maybe it doesn't make any sense. So I was just trying to summarize some of that and just illustrate it here. So I don't know if that confuses the issue or if there's any questions. I did it as fast as I could, so you see there's some blanks because, you know, I used my first summary that I had, which was missing some of the positions and some of the information. So, but I thought that it was enough here to kind of illustrate the fact that the new ranges are trying to, of course, take into account what the Evergreen study told us and how we're incorporating it into the new salary ranges that you and everyone would see under the option. And then Jason wants to follow.
Wait for the mic.
And then just to take it a step further, if you look at the numbers in each of those percentage increases, then you can see that like 10 information specialists would get 6 to 7%, 15 would get 7 to 8%, 8 would get 8 to 9%. So that shows how then it translates into higher compensation for those individuals.
Can you repeat that?
If you look at the handout, the first handout, you can look under each of those increase ranges of the number of information specialists that are going to get those proposed increases. So like I didn't look at all of them, but if you start at like the 6 to 7% range, there's 10. If you look at the 7 to 8%, there's 15 of them, just elementary. And if you look at 8 to 9%, there's 8. So you can see how that translates in what Amy's talking about, that increase in that midpoint and onto that schedule, and then how that translates then with the adjustments right now to putting more money into those individuals' pay checks.
All right, thank you, Jason. Any other questions, clarifications, Chris?
Is it possible to work out a formula where you can close the gap for the employees that have had, let's say, between 15, 19, 20 years, so that gets them up to that higher range? I mean, can you say that, you're going to be able to do that within the next 3 years and implement that? Rather, those that are coming in now are starting at these proposed levels. Is there something that can be done to quickly bring them to where they're supposed to be?
I mean, so certainly as a group and as a district bargaining team, there's nothing that we could sit here and guarantee that X thing is gonna happen over the next 3 years, because we don't have authority to do so, but we certainly can say that it would be the intent that we continue to work on just that. And in each individual year, if we're saying that addressing the compression or being able to accomplish that is one of the most important things or the biggest interest that we have at play, then we certainly can use our bargaining authority in order to try to accomplish that.
All right, anybody else? Jason?
I think it's important to note that, the compression issues and the things that you're talking about with maybe employees that have been here longer than other employees, decisions that were made around this table in the past have compounded that. So, last year we negotiated, a straight increase across the board, even though our interests were still about compression last year, and so we're here there. So, at some point, I think, I just want to reiterate what Amy said earlier. At some point, we got to step out and make that kind of leap, I think, and start spreading those people out along the compensation schedules, because I think that's what people, if I'm hearing you, that's what people are wanting and they need. And, I think there's a desire of everybody here to address that. So, and I think the option 2/5, 2-5, is a positive step in doing that. So instead of just a straight across the board, which we have done in the past.
Thank you. Arlise?
For some reason, our decision to do 8% across the board last year keep coming up. They keep coming up, okay? So last year was last year, this year is this year. We are here, we are trying to work through it, right? And we did do a survey for this bargaining session, and it is important to the employees to get rid of that compression. And from what I understand, all of us are on the same page. So we just need to figure out what we're going to do to get rid of that compression, okay? Because in labor management and in here, we have said that that's what we was gonna work on, and that's what we're focused on. And again, I say, because you wasn't in the room, this is still a lot of material. No matter how it is being explained, it is a lot of information. And like I said, I feel like when anybody pick up this information, they should know where they need to be, where they're going next. And Amy did say, once we get there, then it will happen. But yeah, I don't know why every time we have a bargaining session, our decision on bargaining last year is coming up. We still have a compression. We did not do that. We are the bargaining team. We only been here in these positions for the last 2 years. So we did what we felt that was best for all employees. So if we could just move past last bargaining session. Thank you. And I don't know, Ms. Donna, wherever we need to go from here, just let us know.
We need to go to Amy,
Okay.
and then I have an idea. Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, all right. Agreed. I was just, going to possibly try to, evaluate, one more time when we're talking about, I know, so if compression is of ultimate importance to us, I think we still have to play some kind of balancing act, right? Because unless if we want to make more headway on compression or what have you, then the other option that we have is to say, okay, we're gonna put it all there, which means there's a bunch of people that get something and maybe a bunch of other people that get very close to nothing or very close to nothing. And I'm not sure that that's the balance that we want to strike. But in the option that we have, 2-5, and I'm going back to our handout from yesterday, the one pager, right, with the average proposed increases, when you see, and I'm looking at the bottom of the page on option 2 and then flipping over to the back, those average percentage increases as you flow from years 0 to, through all the way through the end, years 44, somebody's got out there, that flow of the percentages, I think, looks like we would want it to look if we were saying we were trying to, at least to the extent that we could, address this year, right now with the money that we have, to address compression. When you compare it to the option 1 that's on there, I feel like the percentages under option 2 as you flow through the years look better in order to address compression. I think that they look very comparable, as I think it was Arlisa said yesterday, look very comparable to the percentages that you all were suggesting in the option that you brought to the table. So those percentages look very comparable in terms of trying to address that compression through the years progression. And then we're also producing a placement in a salary schedule that gives people the potential for more earnings. And I think we're also producing a larger amount of employees in the option 2-5 that are receiving something more than 5% when you compare one to the other.
All right, Arlise.
Amy, that's really what we're looking for. And I thought that was the page that we was on, right? We are really interested in taking care of much compression as possible because that's what the employees said that they wanted, right? Out of our recent surveys, they want to take care of that compression. And not that we're trying to leave anybody out, right? We have to make the tough decision every year to make sure we're doing what's best for everybody. So what I can say is the last 3, well, actually I think it's 4, because 21 October, we raised everybody up from wherever they were, right, to $15 an hour. So that looked at like some people got $1, maybe a little less, but I think everybody was at least up to $10 an hour. So some people got a $1 raise, some people got $4 raise. We came right back that following year, but then they got bonuses that year. And then we also gave everybody 8% across the board, right? So from 0 years to 10 years for the last at least 3 bargaining sessions, and then the special session, because the legislature said, hey, raise these people up. That's what we did. So those people have seen increases, right, from 0 to 10 years, from $1 to $6.20. So our concern is we have, employees, we have, bookkeepers that's in the compression, we have drivers that's in the compression. We have people in every single department, right, that's in that compression. A new employee should not make the same thing as a 15-year employee or whatever. So our concern is that compression. And whatever that look like, we can explain it, to the people when they either call us or email us. And Lois do put out communications and basically let everybody know, this is what happened, this is what we're gonna do, this is the, the results back from the survey. So pretty much people know what it is that, we're gonna do, because we, pretty much keep them in the loop. So our main concern is getting rid of as much compression as possible.
All right, I have a few suggestions after listening. We can look at the options we have now and maybe get rid of any that we don't think would be viable. We can call it a day, call tomorrow off, schedule a late, I know, Amy. Schedule a date so you, I'm hearing, have not had enough time to digest everything and talk about it within your own team. And do that, and at the same time, look at all the options, and maybe you'll come up with new options or whatever, or agree to one of the ones that are up there. Those are my suggestions. So we can continue today and look at how many options do we have? 7? 7 options, maybe eliminate a couple, or we can move on, cancel tomorrow, call today a day, and make a later date, so that you tell me how much you think is sufficient time to do this and meet together. Lois?
We'd like to caucus.
Okay, time frame?
15?
Okay. Ready? And I believe SPALC called this caucus, so may we have a caucus report from SPALC first.
Okay. Yeah, we sat in there as, you know, the group and looked at option 2 a little bit more in depth. And we know that we put up an option, I believe it was option 7, where we did the 2% across the COLA, and then we did our different breakdowns. And we're just concerned with option 2 that the formula that's being used still allows for compression. So we wanted to talk about how you have the years of service, like you have 0 to 1, then 2 to 7, where we have 0 and then 1 through 4, 5 to 9, things like that. And also how you still have the, I think I brought this up earlier, you used 4% for 2 different categories. We just don't think we have enough of it, I don't know, enough of a formula to really have anything concrete today. We need to have more information.
Okay, we have the district report, and then you can.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So is there a percentage, are there percentages that you would like us to potentially work with regarding option 2/5?
Well, we like the percentages that we gave in option 7,
Okay,
where we tried to really tackle compression, especially years 10 to 14 and 15 and 19. We have much higher percentages.
okay, so I'm just kind of trying to see what they are. So 0 to 1 is 1%. 0 to 1 is 0, but it would be 2% because of the COLA. Yeah. 1 to 4 would be 1.5%, 5 to 9, 3%, 10 to 14, 5.5, 15 to 19, 6.5. Is that correct?
Right.
And then 20 plus is what?
5.5.
Back to 5.5, okay,
For a total cost of $7,342,132.
right.
Was that right, there was 0?
But what's left out of that is not bringing anybody to the minimum under the open range plan that we provided. So, but you would like us to do the math, potentially using those percentages to get us close? Is that?
We would like to see what it looks like.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so you want to do the top?
Sure. So, we spoke about our options, mainly number 2, and the earlier conversations during bargaining today. I do want to put it out there that we recognize the complexity of this, and we are prepared to, if we come to an agreement, to join you all in training staff and talking to staff, and even providing potentially an electronic tool where they could plug in their years, and it would populate their years and their position and provide them with their percentage of hourly raise or their hourly rate. So we recognize all of that, and we're obviously here as partners with you all to try to get this across the finish line and then get a approved contract.
Okay. Arlene?
Rob, let me ask you a question. So will that go in effect before the ratification?
Yeah, we would do all of that, of course, before the ratification, yes.
It would be part of the implementation plan too, before ratification.
And Rob, I have one more other question, because I know you was writing down percentages. So all of those years is,
Drew a blank.
compression versus compression plus COLA, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to make
we
sure.
weren't gonna change our plan, we were just gonna try to plug in some new years to see, and percentages where that takes option 2.
Okay, so, and like Lois said, let me just say it again. So where the years are, what we always work with, we work from year 1 to 4, 5 to 9.
Right.
Yeah, and so on, because that compression really starts, we know that some of the new positions are in compression, from 1 to 10 or 1 to 9. We know that, but like I said earlier, those are the people also that have been getting the biggest raises, like, for the last 2 years.
Sure, and we've heard you and we recognize that. Obviously, the employer has an interest in not seeing the starting salaries remain stagnant either. So that's the tug of war, right? Trying to figure out how to increase the starting salaries, but also at the same time reward the established employees. So we hear you.
Okay? Anything else, Lois?
Yeah, I just want to add too that as of the July 1st report that we got from PeopleSoft, it's showing that folks 0 to 9 years is now your 70% of your of the bargaining unit. So we're not retaining the folks that are compressed in the middle, and we really need to focus on that. That's a big thing for us to fix that.
Yeah, thanks, Lois. That's good information, actually.
Okay,
You just, looking at Kirsten and Amy, they're kind of the math people here, and Kevin. Hopefully we can get this info for tomorrow. Is that fair? Okay.
Yes, if I understand the request in that, with the option 2, it still keeps, moving everyone into a new salary schedule, which incorporates evergreen information and is basically altering or adjusting these years of service and the percentages to see where we can get to based on your groupings that you'd like to see. Yep, so yes, we could do that by tomorrow, yes.
all right, Laura?
Question with Evergreen, were they ever gonna come back here and discuss, kind of do their tables and stuff, or is it just they sent it to you guys and then you guys dismantle it out? Because when I asked Evergreen, when I went through that, little questionnaire thing that I did, they said they were coming back and they were gonna present it to the board. And it
They are
doesn't sound like
gonna present to the board. They're gonna produce a final report also. But it's not their job to bargain. So
No, I
we're using their
understand.
information to bargain with you all, right?
So then, are you saying that they're not done with their report yet?
They're done with the part having to do with SPALC. We've said that repeatedly. They were still working on admin and teachers. And they're in the process of finalizing a report at some point. We want them to come to the board on August 20th, frankly, to see if they can come speak to the board. Yeah, that's not confirmed.
No. Anything else? Anything else tonight? This afternoon? We're not at night, I'm doing what you did earlier, I'm saying nighttime, and it's not night, we're still in afternoon. It feels like night. All right, if nothing else that we can do today, shall we call it a day and same time, same place tomorrow? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.